What if the most powerful thing you could ever control wasn't someone else's behavior, but the idea they believe is their own? That is not science fiction. That is the most sophisticated form of influence ever put on film. And Inception showed you exactly how it works, layer by layer, while you were too busy watching the spinning top to see what it was actually teaching you. Let's get into it. The entire mission of Inception is simple. Plant an idea in someone's mind and make them believe they thought of it themselves. Because an idea you believe is yours cannot be argued with, cannot be taken away, cannot be challenged from the outside. Cobb says it directly. What is the most resilient parasite? An idea. This is not just a movie concept. This is how every great leader, every great marketer, every great manipulator in history has operated. They never told people what to think. They created the conditions for people to arrive at the conclusion themselves. The most powerful form of influence is the one the other person never sees coming, because it feels like their own thought. In Inception, each person's subconscious builds its own world, its own rules, its own logic, its own defenses. And here is what that is actually showing you. Every person you have ever met is living inside a mental architecture built entirely from their own experiences, beliefs, and emotional history. You cannot change someone's mind by attacking their architecture directly. Their subconscious will defend it, violently, automatically, without thinking. The only way in is to understand the architecture first. The most effective communicators in the world don't push their ideas onto people. They study how the other person thinks and enter through a door that is already opened. The most dangerous level in Inception is not the dream within a dream. It is limbo. The place where ideas become so deeply embedded that the person can no longer tell what is real and what was planted. That is not fiction. That is what happens when a belief gets installed early enough, deep enough, that it becomes invisible. You don't question it. You don't examine it. You just live inside it, as if it were the walls of the world itself. Your beliefs about money, your beliefs about what you deserve, your beliefs about what is possible for someone like you. Most of those were installed before you were 12 years old, and most of them are still running, completely unexamined. Right now, here is the moment most people miss. Cobb's team doesn't plant a logical argument inside Fisher's mind. They plant an emotional experience, a dying father, a son who is never enough, a moment of release and forgiveness. Because logic changes opinions, emotion changes behavior. You can win every argument and still change absolutely nothing about what someone actually does. But if you reach the emotion underneath the logic, the behavior changes itself. Every decision a person makes, no matter how rational it looks on the surface, is driven by an emotional need underneath. The person who understands that doesn't argue harder. They go deeper. Cobb's entire problem throughout Inception is that he cannot tell what is real anymore. His totem, the spinning top, exists for one reason only: to remind him which level he is on. And here is the lesson that lives inside that. The most dangerous trap is not failure. It is getting so deep inside a goal, a system, a belief, or a version of yourself that you lose the thread back to reality. Ambition without awareness creates its own limbo. The most effective people in the world are not just skilled at going deep. They are skilled at coming back up, checking in, reassessing, asking, is this still real? Is this still true? Is this still me? The spinning top is not just a plot device. It is the most important habit any high performer can build. The regular practice of stepping back and making sure you are still operating in the world as it actually is. Inception won 4 Academy Awards. But the real prize was hidden inside every level. A complete manual for understanding how ideas are planted, how beliefs are defended, how emotions drive decisions, and how the most powerful control is the kind that feels like freedom. You watched it as a thriller. Now you have seen it as a system. That's what we do here at Scene and Scene. Subscribe, because next week we go inside The Wolf of Wall Street. And what we find there will show you exactly how greed becomes a system, and why that system always destroys itself. Seen, Yun Seen. What you watched, what you missed.